Welcome, everybody. So as Max said, this is our second year. Last year I did this alone. Obviously I did such a terrific job, they felt they needed 4 people to help this year, so I'll not be on my own. So the format is pretty simple. Each of the young entrepreneurs will present for 5 minutes. Marissa will time that, and then we'll have 10 minutes for our panelists to ask questions or make comments about the presentation. Once we've gone through that, for each of them, we will then open it up to a general discussion, and you'll be free to ask questions, anything you want. We're also going to pause at one point and ask you to vote, and I'll explain how that works later, but it's basically with text messaging. We're starting off with Demi Chu, comes originally from the Columbia Startup Lab. She's now in a shared workspace. They got too big for the lab, and the name of her company is, it's not a buddy picture, it's not a rock band, it's a startup called Longneck and Thunderfoot. Demi Chu.
Hi everyone, my name is Demi Chu, and I will be presenting today on Longneck and Thunderfoot, LNT for short. So, before we get started, is anyone familiar with the original story of Longneck and Thunderfoot? See a couple hands there. Well, for those of you who aren't, our company name actually gets its story from a children's book about 2 dinosaurs, a Longneck and a Thunderfoot. In this story, the Longneck and Thunderfoot, they didn't get along at first because of their mistrust in each other over their difference in appearance. However, with the impending doom of the dinosaur extinction at hand, they were forced to overcome this initial fear and work together collaboratively and creatively to solve their problem. They carved out a niche for themselves in the new world, and as such, Longneck and Thunderfoot, LNT, was founded on these foundations of creativity and collaboration. So, who we are. LNT are brand transformers. We take ordinary company blogs and transform them into authoritative trade publications. Our turnkey news desk service will put journalists at our company in touch with experts in your company. We help your experts to develop stories that matter to your business. We use data-driven and ROI-proven techniques to make sure that everything we do feeds into your business's bottom line. And our full-service content marketing encompasses content creation, SEO optimization, PR outreach, and native ad strategies. So, what's your problem? Well, as you can see, successful content marketing requires a wide variety of strategies, actions, and tasks in order to be executed effectively. However, the things on the mind of the average marketing manager are already miles long. Where these 2 spheres intersect is where LNT is happy to step in. We revamp content marketing strategy and actually drive engagement, leads, and results. So, what sets us apart from our competition? We are not a content farm. While a content farm will put your company in touch with writers, we do the hard work of actually executing the brand strategy for you. Why pay big bucks for an expensive piece of software that merely gives you a content platform and maybe puts your content in a calendar, when LNT will do the hard human work of executing the sophisticated strategy that you require? We are not a PR agency. We get work done well, and we get work done efficiently. So, our unique proposition to you, as digital strategy partners working in tandem with your existing marketing team, LNT is backed by expertise and prior client successes. We use our data and ROI-driven techniques to come up with the best content marketing strategy that suits your business needs. These are some examples of what we offer. We will turn your company blog into a brand publication, working with experts in your field to create stories that matter to your business. These stories will attract attention from potential customers, clients, prospects, partners, and they elevate your brand in the industry as a whole. Our executive branding and thought leadership techniques will elevate the experts in your company to thought leaders in their field. We specialize in placing articles written by your experts in brand publications such as Inc., Entrepreneur, Forbes, and other relevant publications to your company. And our expertise in creating gated content and industry resources means that we will create the best ebooks, white papers, infographics, everything that will attract real leads to your organization. And we manage the marketing campaigns behind these as well. Our social media team will optimize and automate all of your social media channels. We will reach audiences that you might not have even thought to reach before. And our proactive approach towards content distribution and redistribution means that you will see your content republished on high traffic sites such as BuzzFeed, Elite Daily, anything that's relevant to your organization. Honestly, our results speak for themselves. In the first 3 months with our client Precise Leads, we achieved month-over-month traffic growth of over 1,000% to their company blog. We increased new customers for them at an affordable CPA. New contacts increased 178% quarter over quarter. And in the end, we increased customers 121% year over year. In addition to everything that we offer, we host monthly events focused around marketing, tech, and sales. We're interested in starting conversations in Silicon Alley and fostering a community. If you're interested in speaking or attending any of our future events, please get in touch with me after the show. Thank you very much for your attention today.
Great. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind, we're going to see some jumping up and down of our 4 experts so that you can see them. Anybody want to volunteer to ask Demi the first question or make the first comment, or do I want Avner will do that. Thank you. Avner
cool.
Ronen.
Yeah, and I actually would love to hear what made you start L&T.
Well, I was actually the 4th employee hired at L&T.
That's as good as starting.
What our founders identified was really a need for real full content marketing services. While a lot of competitors offered software, platforms, maybe a writer portal that you can get in touch with, we manage the full strategy and execution and everything that goes into that, whether it's SEO optimization, PR outreach, everything that will optimize the content that we will produce for you.
Scott?
Yeah. So first of all, that was excellent. Great to hear the background, how you're focused on it, et cetera. One thing I thought I might have heard you say, so I'm wondering where this exists in your plans, is the rapid growth in mobile and the way in which we all consume information today, and how this applies to the shorter form content that all millennials in particular, but all of us are increasingly looking to engage in shorter form, shorter clips, more frequency, et cetera.
Absolutely. And we encourage daily publishing for all of our clients, and we have a variety of strategies to create content that speaks to all audiences, just depending on the business space that they're in. And in addition to this, our social media team really helps to, dole out that short form content that's a lot more digestible through maybe mobile than a full blog post is.
Elizabeth?
This is more some thoughts on the pitch. When we asked you, why you wanted to do this, that's a million times more compelling to me personally than listening to the story behind the name. And so I'm just thinking about the narrative, when you're talking to people about why this company is different and what your personal point of passion is. When you got asked that question, you immediately said, there's a void in this space. And then my second thing was you guys had something buried at the end that I thought was really interesting, which is that you do this event series with people who work in the industry. I wonder, what are you guys doing with that event series to take what is learned there and then make it part of your brand and part of your company?
Honestly,
could that be a differentiator for you?
Yeah, I'm actually heading up that new marketing ops team, focusing on creating these events that really foster a sense of community outside of just our business goals. Honestly, we're all about co-opetition. I don't know if you've heard of that term, but basically the idea is that if we level up the industry as a whole by hosting these events, we level up even our competitors and we work with our competitors. It gets the word out there about what our business stands for and helps to create a lot more interest and business for us as a realm of content marketing.
Bob?
Yeah, so first off, kudos for the poise displayed at the beginning. I mean, like when you sort of go to the podium and there's a blank screen up there and your founders are in the audience, that's probably a pang of complete angst. So way to keep it rolling. You know, the comment I would have, I think sort of mirrors what was just said a minute ago. There at the end of the presentation, like the beginning was this sort of it felt like a list of, you know, a little bit of the overview, a lot of what others are doing, what you're not, which can be insulting to some people if that's what they do, versus more clearly sort of demonstrating exactly what it is, what you do. Like, people are frustrated with their content management. They work with multiple agencies. You know, in the beginning when you say that you're transforming brands, it's not transforming brands, it's transforming, you know, their blog or, you know, that specific aspect of the thing. And what I found most compelling was at the very end when you were going through just the numbers of a case study, which were impressive. I would have actually liked to have seen sort of, it's a classic sort of show don't tell. I would have liked to see what their content strategy and what they were putting out to the world looked like in the beginning, and then what it looked like when you were done with it. Instead of a lot of the abstract sort of things that you could do, you could have showed me specifically what you had done. And I think that would have just made it a lot tighter in terms of understanding sort of what you did.
Avner?
Two things. One is, I think, like, talking about blogs in, you know, this day and age seems a bit antiquated, you know, especially from like you know, very young company. I would expect like that you install some fear in the people with like, what's your Snapchat strategy? What are you doing on Instagram? You know, have you done something on Musical.ly recently? Like, you know, so that you can help them beyond just writing a blog post. You know, you're doing instant articles. So that was kind of missing, to be like on the, you know, on the front of, you know, all those platforms that are happening where all the user attention, you know, making bots. You should already have like a bot story, I guess, in VR and AR, like all that stuff. That's one. And second,
You don't want to be a dinosaur, you know?
right. So
You've evolved from that.
Yeah, so I would love to hear if you're doing something in that arena. And second is, would love to understand the way the business operates. Like, how do you engage with customers? How do you charge? What do you charge? How do you think you're going to scale it? You keep saying you're not a platform, you know, you're not a technology company, but it's a service business. So.
And you have to answer all of that in less than a minute, okay? Seriously.
Well, to answer your first question, we're always looking to expand our services, not beyond our means, but we're always looking to, you know, investigate what the next big thing is. And currently, we are looking into expanding our services into video content. Slowly and surely, perhaps Snapchat is the next thing on the list. The next question was about
Monetization, yeah.
business operation. In terms of scaling, we have been bootstrapped from the start and profitable from the start. Every employee employed by L&T is paid by revenue generated by L&T, and we plan on keeping it that way. It's really at the center thesis for our founders, because we believe that you know, growing slowly and ensuring that we have the best talent that meets the needs of our clients is the most important thing. And in terms of what we charge, honestly, it varies so widely, just depending on what a client asks for. So we can charge as little as $2,000 a month for just a few articles to something like 10 to 20K a month, just depending on, you know, the scope of services that they require.
Great, well, thank you so much. We'll be back for the general Q&A with you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need you to bounce back. By the way, if you want to stay here, so you can see the slides, you're welcome to stay there. It's up to you, Elizabeth. You're more than welcome to. Okay, so our next presenter, thank you very much, Demi, is Oliver Hoffman, coming out of Cornell Tech, and the name of his company is Pallet. Oliver.
Hi, everyone. My name is Oliver. I'm a co-founder of Pallet, and we are on a mission to help the mobility impaired become more independent by allowing them to use their tongue to control their surroundings. Imagine for a second that there's a phone in front of you. Your hands are tied to your chair and the phone's ringing. You struggle to reach to it and answer, but you can't. That is the struggle that 1 million people with quadriplegia and 5 million others with mobility impairments go through every day. Meet Raul. He is a person with quadriplegia, which means he's paralyzed from the neck down. he requires the constant attention of a caregiver to go about his day, for everything from going to the bathroom, to eating, to reading his emails, and answering his calls. There are some assistive technologies out there that help Raul go about his day. The problem is that most of these technologies are very bulky and obtrusive, technologies such as the sip and puff, which require you to stick, you actually use your head to move a stick around and blow into it to indicate commands. Or you can use voice commands, but those are not private at all. You're basically telling everyone around you what you want to do. On top of this, they're very expensive. A person with quadriplegia spends on average $180,000 a year on these technologies and the assistance of his caregiver. At Palette, we want to make individual control private, discreet, and affordable for everyone. Our device, Palette, fits discreetly in the mouth like a retainer and allows Raul to control his surroundings and interact with them to do the tasks that matter the most to him. So, how does it work? The caregiver puts the retainer in Raul's mouth, and the retainer connects to a phone that acts as a hub to all his surroundings. Imagine, for example, being able to control your wheelchair using tongue gestures. With the surge of the Internet of Things, the possibilities of Palette-compatible devices are endless. You could, for example, control your phone, not only your wheelchair, but you could also read your emails. You could control any app in your phone with basic tongue gestures. That is our long-term vision. Why now? Because the cost of electronics has gone down exponentially to the point where we can easily use a Bluetooth microcontroller, which is extremely tiny and costs us $8. The prototypes that we're currently building costs less than $100. You can see that the cost reduction when comparing this to other assistive technologies out there. As you can see, it is private. It fits discreetly in the mouth. It is discreet. It lets Raul talk, and it's not visible for everyone else. And at the same time, it is very affordable. We are a team of connective media students at Cornell Tech. Our backgrounds go from computer science to electrical and mechanical engineering. And we have worked quite a while for the past year into making Palette a reality. This is our first prototype. It was done a few months ago. As you can see, the design it could be better, but it's a wired prototype that basically lets you control the computer's mouse with your tongue. We literally ripped out the track point from an old IBM laptop, hacked it, and basically connected it to a mouth guard. It worked. Our second prototype is a wireless version of the same concept. This time we used a joystick, and it connects via Bluetooth to the phone, and it let you use your tongue gestures to indicate basic commands. The problem is that it was still a little big, and it was not easy to talk with it. Hence, we had to do something different. And so we basically became professional retainer makers. We researched how to make retainers which would allow you to fit them into your mouth and talk while you were using. We created a lot of different electronics using proximity sensors and force-sensitive resistors, created a PCB, and put them all together in the retainer. This is all done. This works. And now our next steps are making an even thinner retainer. We're actually considering shifting from the retainer focus and not even requiring a retainer to put the electronics in the mouth. All of this embedded, of course, and it's safe. We've been talking to the quadriplegic community to validate our idea, and so far the reception has been quite good. If you know anything about FDA approval, if you're interested in investing, or if you know anyone who might be interested in investing, or if you know people with quadriplegia who would be willing to talk to us or happy to talk to us, please reach out. Thank you.
Okay, come on up. All right, our experts are back. Thanks, Oliver. Who volunteers to get us started?
I could go.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
So first off, great job getting right into what the problem is, what we're trying to solve, and what some kind of prototyping ideas were along the way. I felt like I was really moved to understand, wow, this is a big market, a really huge need among the people in that market, and a very clear understanding of how this could be life-changing, which is really pretty awesome. I was also really impressed at how quickly this has evolved from kind of an idea into an actual tangible opportunity that leverages the mobility which is in everybody's pockets and kind of releases the world there. I think it would be helpful if we all heard just how quickly you go through from prototyping to prototyping and getting something. What was that time length? What were the steps you took? I imagine it was quite quick along the way.
Sure. Yeah. So the idea came off at a human-computer interaction class about a year and a half ago. It started off as a project. Most people were building apps. And my friend Dan, he's a co-founder as well. He was like, I want to do something that really helps people. And he came up with the idea. So since then, we first built a very basic prototype. Before building the prototype, we Skyped and called a lot of different people with quadriplegia to kind of make sure that we were actually building the right product. And then right after that, we put the first prototype together in a weekend at a hackathon. And it was basically just to validate the use of the tongue as a mechanism to interact with technology. Once that worked, and over the summer, we built the first wireless prototype. And we submitted it for a competition, didn't win, but we still believe that the idea could have a lot of impact. So we continued working on it for this past year. This last prototype has been the most complicated one because there's a lot of challenges and constraints in terms of size, in terms of making it safe, waterproof, etc. But we finally finished building it about a week ago, actually.
Elizabeth?
So I have so many questions, but this is fascinating to me. I assume that you've tried the prototype out yourself?
Yes.
No? So how long, what's the longest period of time you've tried to use it?
That's a very good question. There's two things to mention here. One of them is the battery life. We're struggling with a small battery that lasts long enough to make this usable, although we're confident that we'll be able to find something soon. As of now, the life of the device is about an hour. So that is one main thing that we have to work and fix. The second one is that having the device inside the mouth is still a little uncomfortable. Hence the need for us to reduce the size even more. But we are able to talk with it, and it's not tiresome for the tongue.
Yeah, my follow-up question, which is that when I saw your presentation, Samsung is working on a smart contact lens that allows you to do kind of gesture-based navigation of what, it's in R&D. It's not, they won't come out with it for a long time. But I can sort of imagine that the road you're going down would be something that, people could reverse engineer Google Glass to do something similar with eye movements. How do you look at your competitive field? I mean, what's the biggest holdup for you? I think you identified like the two biggest problems in the field, the biggest one of which is expense for people. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the fact that bigger players are looking at peripheral measurements of neurological activity, how do you compete in that field?
So the main reason we're building this is to actually help people. So if someone comes up with something better, it's a win for us at the end of the day, because it's not like the bottom line is not really what we're going after. And if someone comes up with something better, we'll probably try to borrow from the idea and improve on our product. And if it has to change completely from a retainer, that's fine by us.
Bob?
Yeah, everything that you say is better than the thing you said right before it. I mean, it was a wonderful presentation. I love the fact that, you weren't overpromising. You took us through your journey, which included some learning and some clumsiness, and even your answer to that question a minute ago was really, I couldn't have imagined a better answer to that. The idea here, I think, is fabulous, and it's intuitive. I just thought this was really great. My only question would be the same thing, which is how quickly can you get to market before there's a different technology that doesn't use the tongue, that uses your eyes, or they're inserting things. I mean, some of the work they're doing right now, going right to the brain to sort of like restore limb use, is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. So to me, I mean, your answer was great, in terms of if they come up with something sooner, that's great. It's a win for these people. Yeah. But you've worked on this, and the idea is you're not that far away from putting it in one person's mouth, and that one person could make a difference. So I mean, I would just encourage you to go full bore, and I'd be happy to make any context.
Okay, but there was a question in there, so go ahead and answer the question.
Thanks for the questions, by the way. So our objective is to be able to put this in the mouth of a person with quadriplegia and have them perform an action that matters to them by the end of the semester, which is in a month from now. So in a month, we can actually have someone use it. The problem is, as you're aware of, that we have to go through a whole FDA process before we're able to release the product to market, to the public market. So that could complicate and slow things down. But in terms of technology-wise, we're almost ready.
Yeah, the only thing, sorry.
Is there a way to release it as a recreational product and avoid the FDA process?
We've thought about that. That's why we need some expertise, because we're not sure if that would be legal. It's like, I don't know if we could release something that is actually meant as a medical device as something that is not. We've thought about it and we've considered it, but we're not sure.
Again, I don't know if, there is a really sort of fine line in definitions of medical devices versus non-medical. You could work around that.
Let's let Avner chime in.
So what's your next step? Like in an ideal scenario, what happens next? Putting aside FDA, that I would recommend finding some creative way around it.
Yeah, so our next step is to reduce the size of the device, and in order to do that, we're going to, instead of using the current PCBs, PCBs are the boards that hold the electronic components. Instead of using those, we want to use flexible PCBs, which are thinner, and basically improve the design of our product to make it smaller and work a little better.
You want to raise money and do what? Like you're all ready to leave and focus on it 100%?
We still don't know. We still have to figure that out, because the market, even though it's a big market, it's complicated to reach this market, and we still don't know how easy it's going to be to sell the product.
So you need somebody to help you actually map the market and
that's right.
decide
Yes,
on a strategy.
I would
right?
say so.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Avner,
Did you
sorry.
think of any other application that maybe extends beyond that community? I don't know, with like VR?
Yes,
that you could
actually,
do?
one of the problems with VR is that you cannot see your hands when you're wearing the. So we thought about it. Maybe we could use the tongue as a new mechanism for VR, but that's very a long-term vision. Another thing we thought, if you're a doctor, for example, if you're doing surgery, maybe you need to go through slides or something, and you could use we're trying to come up with ways that go beyond the people with quadriplegia, but at the end of the day, our objective, the reason we started this, we want to finish this first before going.
Right, no, but that may help you raise the funds.
Absolutely.
Or tell a bigger story, and the first thing you're going to do is help those 1 million people, and that's what you're going to do over the next 3 years, but then the opportunity is much bigger. I don't know what it is, but I would encourage you to find that, just from the perspective of raising funds from investors that are financially motivated rather than just altruistic.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our last presenter is Núria Saldanha, and her startup is called, she's from the CUNY Graduate School of Journalism, Vozes Brasileiras, Voices of Brazil.
Hello, everyone. My name is Núria Saldanha. I'm from Brazil, and I'm the founder of Vozes Brasileiras, which means Brazilian Voices. It's a platform that develops collaborative content focused on low-income areas in Brazil, which are well known as favelas. So I'm trying to solve two problems here. The first one is that the low-income communities have been ignored by the traditional media for a long time in Brazil. So they are only featured as criminals and statistics. They don't have a space in the traditional media, and they don't trust in the traditional media. They don't want anyone, neither journalists, narrating their own stories. So I really believe that with one platform, I can solve these two problems and give them a stronger voice. Talking a little bit about favelas, 12.4 million people live in favelas nowadays. In Brazil, there are more residents in favelas than in Portugal or in Belgium. 6% of the Brazilian population. And when we think about favelas, generally the image that came to our minds is that the film City of God, the movie, I think everybody remember that, very poor and in need people, very dangerous people as well. But nowadays, 65% of people who live in favelas in Brazil are in the middle class. They love brands, famous brands. They love to buy expensive Nike shoes as the soccer players. They love to travel. There are favelados traveling abroad. They have a series of that. And they are very connected as well. 74% of them have access to the internet. And 75% of them have access to the internet through mobile devices. So my idea here is not reinventing the wheel, is to offer them tools and a space to tell their own stories and have a stronger, a greater voice. So last year I created a mobile-friendly website where people could create profiles, submit stories, ask questions or pitch stories, and collaborate to investigate and report stories around the same issues in their communities. And when I start testing, I observed that they lack confidence in their writing abilities because they don't have high-quality education in favelas. They don't know how to produce photos and videos. They have a very self-centered narrative because nobody talked about them before, and then now I can talk about me. And they were eager to learn. So when I learned how to pitch, I started to pitch to everybody on the streets, on the bars, and I ended up pitching to someone from Facebook Brazil, and they were launching a lab of innovation in a favela called Heliópolis in order to teach people in low-income and small business owners how to use Facebook to sell their products. But they understand that people didn't know how to tell stories. So they invited me to create a workshop to teach people how to tell stories using smartphones because they don't have computers in favelas. So I added this feature as well to my idea. I'm offering in Vozes Brasileiras training and a platform so users can learn how to tell stories and they can publish in this platform to have a greater voice. And I'm thinking about a business model based on sponsors. They are going to have a valuable audience to talk, and also they can have data and insights from this community to reach new clients. I want to let you with a quote from Celso Ataide. He was born and raised in a favela, and he said to me once, "Today the internet is our main window, where instead of just seeing, we want to be seen." Thank you.
Great. Okay. Last time you have to jump up. Our experts are very good sports. Who wants to start with Nuria? Bob? Great.
Really fascinating. I thought it was an interesting sort of concept and obviously an unmet need. There were some things that just in terms of how things were being positioned, I wasn't quite sure of. Like even at the end, the Voice of Favelas, and then the name of the organization is Brazilian Voices, right, or the equivalent. But it's not. It's actually favela. It's the voice from the favela, right? So to me, there was an ability to sort of get quicker into how you were helping the individual. Like the quote that you ended with would have been wonderful to start with, to sort of put a sense of humanity into it. Instead of a lot of competing facts or wait, they buy expensive shoes and they travel around, but there's poverty. And so to me, it's this idea that every person deserves the dignity of being able to tell their own story, and also trying to understand sort of what is the value of that. So at the end, when you talked about the value, you could look at it from, well, would someone want to sponsor it, which is one thing, right? There's other value because if you actually now have this audience engaged, it's easier to provide services for them from the Brazilian government or other places. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more sort of come full circle on the value at the end. The one thing I'd be curious about it, because it seems like you're far along. Are there real examples now of people actually using the platform?
No, I just tested last year, like a beta version, and I figured out that I need to add some features, and I'm working on that. So what I'm really interested in is the feature where people can collaborate to produce or investigate stories. Because, for example, with Zika in Brazil, people who live in favela are 5 times more likely to get Zika than people who live on the streets, as you say. Because the Zika problem in Brazil is very related to the infrastructure or the lack of infrastructure. So the media is focusing on people from other sides, and the favela communities are not being reported, not teaching, being taught how to prevent from these diseases and this virus.
So just if I could add, so that example you just used, right, is a powerful way to ground the importance of this in something that's very real. So even if you only did a beta test, there's still a way to sort of paint a picture for someone in terms of what the power of something like this is, and the example that you just used does exactly that.
Elizabeth?
There were a couple of facts from your presentation that really stood out to me. One was that you're talking about an area where there's not necessarily very good video or photo quality, and also you mentioned that a lot of people are not comfortable with writing necessarily for educational reasons. Have you thought about using audio instead, maybe using transcription? Because if your barrier to getting people to use it is that they're not comfortable with the medium, have you thought about maybe modifying the app so that all they have to do is speak into it?
Yeah, but one thing that I found very interesting in this lab, Facebook lab that became a lab to me to understand deeply my community, is that they have good smartphones. They don't know how to use. That's my point. So I conducted these workshops, 6-hour workshops in 2 days, teaching them how to use free tools and how to use their own smartphones to produce video. And I think with video they are very comfortable with, because you don't need to write and you don't have the grammar point. So it was a very valuable experience. So my beta version was very focused on text and photos, and now I want to add this video feature so people can share stories using video as well.
I'm there.
Yeah, I guess that's my question, which is, if you're trying to foster a community, they're connected, they have shared interests, there's commercial interest, there's, storytelling interest. It seems like, just focusing on getting them to write is maybe, too narrow. And maybe if there aren't already services that put together that community, take advantage of, the uniqueness of that community, right? It's an extremely dense population, right? They're all mobile. Maybe there's a sharing economy. I assume that happens there. It's a cash-driven economy. I think there's tools that probably you could provide that community that would be unique to the physical setup and socioeconomic setup of them. So unless you will really, your mission is to help them be able to write stories and tell their stories to the world, that's a different, then it's a different, I guess, challenge. But I guess the question is really what they're trying to eventually achieve.
What's your definition of success?
No, I think you were right. I think my main point become to engage this community around the subjects, not only to write about their issues, but to engage them around subjects. For example, Zika, or for example, a lot of diseases that they have there, for example, syphilis and tuberculosis that nobody is talking about because there is no international attention, but are daily problems of them. So I want to engage this community around the subjects important to them.
Is the idea, sorry Scott, is the idea then that the rest of the world would understand that syphilis and tuberculosis are problems in the community, or that they would have a better understanding through collaboration?
They would have a better understanding. Okay. I'm trying to serve them, not to tell their stories to the world.
Scott.
So that's great. Even through this conversation, I feel like I have a much better sense. I candidly was a little lost. I kept thinking about what's the high concept idea here. Is this Vice, Vice Media meets Favela, or is it, where were you heading with it? It made its way out on the other end, and through this conversation. Given what you just said, it feels to me like there is a massive opportunity to focus exclusively on the mobile app utility component, which blends proximity, geo, lightweight content creation, opportunity, be it video, video editing, content, voice, and amplify that component of it. I think there's a whole lot of great things you're looking to do with education, et cetera, and otherwise, but I'm always impressed by the power of what consumers and users can do with a really smart, easy-to-use, lightweight app in their hands, and how quickly they learn to build upon it.
Yeah,
some thoughts.
We are talking about this before with other people who are present. We are producing a lot of tools, and people don't know how to use sometimes. So maybe you need to go there and teach them how to use these tools to have a greater voice and to engage with others.
Okay, so bear with us while we do some housekeeping. We're going to bring the other chairs in, and our other three young entrepreneurs are going to join us. So I think we should vote, Marissa, because I like to allow time for some final thoughts from our experts. We're very lucky to have them here. So this is what we asked you about before. So the way this works, when you came in, you got a little, we're going to put a code up here. So the first question is, which company would, I'll get it in a second. Which company would you like to work for? So the address you texted to is 22333. If you'd like to work for Long L&T, that's the number you use. Would you like to work for Palette, Stella, Voces? So basically, yeah. Okay, so Marissa, we can then tally it up, right?
Yep, so that's it.
So there are the results. So we have, so Palette is you better start getting ready to take applications. It turns out that almost half the people here want to work with you, but with Stella right behind. All right, let's go to the next question, please. Which company would you invest in? All right, which company would you invest in? So this is your own hard-earned money or the money of your fund. All right, so Melissa, why don't you close it? Well, you're going to be able to pay all those employees, Oliver, that you hired in the first round because you have a lot of investors here. Okay, and then so that's a pretty convincing win for Palette there. Okay, let's look at the last question. Which company would you tell a friend about? So when you go home tonight, what'd you do? You went to the new school. Which one are you most likely? Let's say you could only tell your friend about one. Which one would it be? Okay, you guys are getting very fast at this. Okay, I think we can lock. All right, a lot of people are going to be talking with their tongues about Palette tonight. Okay, thank you. So let's get some closing thoughts from our experts, and then we're going to call it. We said we get you out of here at 8 o'clock. We try to be very prompt here at the Center for Communication. So let's just go right down the road. Scott, start us off, please. Closing comment, anything you'd like to say to sum up the evening?
Oh, my goodness. So first of all, wonderful job, everybody. I'm sure we all feel the same. I'm really impressed. Yes. I'm really impressed by two things that I saw collectively. One is getting through the history and getting to the pointed kind of value of what we're trying to get done, and also then the utility that it provides. I think the more you could focus on each of those, the better. Lots of bright futures ahead. Great job.
Bob?
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming here today, sharing your ideas, but beyond that, sort of just the passion you bring to the projects. And a last word of encouragement is, I think that Andrew had said earlier that all 4 of the presenters last year, their companies are still in existence and doing well. So, no pressure.
Elizabeth, you've been through this so many times.
Yeah, I would say I used to be a buy-side equity analyst, so I used to listen to like 20 pitches a day. What you just had to do is possibly the worst part of being an entrepreneur is constantly having to pitch yourself when you'd probably rather be working on your product and building your company. So kudos to all of you for surviving the process and doing such a great job. And just whenever you have to do it again, just think, this is getting me to where I want to be long term, and that makes it less painful. So
I'm there.
Yeah, I agree with everything that was said, and from my experience, I'm on my 3rd startup. Unfortunately, I would still want to be on my 1st, but I think the fact that you're doing it at such a point in your careers, it's encouraging to see that. It's, the effort and the passion where you are. It's great.
So I'd like to thank our experts, Avner, Elizabeth, Bob, Scott. And of course, our presenters who did a great job. Thank you. It's not a buddy picture. It's not a rock band. It's a startup called Longneck and Thunderfoot. Demi Chu.
Hi everyone, my name is Demi Hi everyone, my name is Demi Chu, and I will be presenting today on Longneck and Thunderfoot, LNT for short. So, before we get started, is anyone familiar with the original story of Longneck and Thunderfoot? See a couple hands there. Well, for those of you who aren't, our company name actually gets its story from a children's book about two dinosaurs, a longneck and a thunderfoot. In the story, the longneck and thunderfoot, they didn't get along at first because of their mistrust in each other over their difference in appearance. However, with the impending doom of the dinosaur extinction at hand, they were forced to overcome this initial fear and work together collaboratively and creatively to solve their problem. They carved out a niche for themselves in the new world, and as such, Longneck and Thunderfoot, LNT, was founded on these foundations of creativity and collaboration. So, who we are. LNT are brand transformers. We take ordinary company blogs and transform them into authoritative trade publications. Our turnkey news desk service will put journalists at our company in touch with experts in your company. We help your experts to develop stories that matter to your business. We use data-driven and ROI-proven techniques to make sure that everything we do feeds into your business's bottom line. And our full-service content marketing encompasses content creation, SEO optimization, PR outreach, and native ad strategies. So, what's your problem? Well, as you can see, successful content marketing requires a wide variety of strategies, actions, and tasks in order to be executed effectively. However, the things on the mind of the average marketing manager are already miles long. Where these two spheres intersect is where LNT is happy to step in. We revamp content marketing strategy and actually drive engagement, leads, and results. So, what sets us apart from our competition? We are not a content farm. While a content farm will put your company in touch with writers, we do the hard work of actually executing the brand strategy for you. Why pay big bucks for an expensive piece of software that merely gives you a content platform and maybe puts your content in a calendar, when LNT will do the hard human work of executing the sophisticated strategy that you require? We are not a PR.
Welcome, everybody. So as Max said, this is our second year. Last year I did this alone. Obviously, I did such a terrific job, they felt they needed 4 people to help this year, so I'll not be on my own. So the format is pretty simple. Each of the young entrepreneurs will present for 5 minutes. Marissa will time that, and then we'll have 10 minutes for our panelists to ask questions or make comments about the presentation. Once we've gone through that, for each of them, we will then open it up to a general discussion, and you'll be free to ask questions, anything you want. We're also going to pause at one point and ask you to vote, and I'll explain how that works later, but it's basically with text messaging. We're starting off with Demi Chu, comes originally from the Columbia Startup Lab. She's now in a shared workspace. They got too big for the lab, and the name of her company is
Agency. We get work done well, and we get work done efficiently. So, our unique proposition to you, as digital strategy partners working in tandem with your existing marketing team, LNT is backed by expertise and prior client successes. We use our data and ROI-driven techniques to come up with the best content marketing strategy that suits your business needs. These are some examples of what we offer. We will turn your company blog into a brand publication, working with experts in your field to create stories that matter to your business. These stories will attract attention from potential customers, clients, prospects, partners, and they elevate your brand in the industry as a whole. Our executive branding and thought leadership techniques will elevate the experts in your company to thought leaders in their field. We specialize in placing articles written by your